Welcome everybody to Battle for Tatooine Gold's introductory video. This is going to get you familiar with some of the basic features of the mod, and it's appropriate for people who have played the original and for new players. To start, just go to single player, then custom game. You can also host the game on Battle.net. It is lower than 8 megabytes. You can then pick whether you're Rebels or Imperials. In online play, you may have to put in a computer either on the Rebel or the Imperial side to play the game. This actually doesn't make a difference in gameplay terms. There's an introductory cinematic. You can skip that if every player presses escape. But you might want to watch that, particularly if it's your first time through. For additional information other than these tutorials, you can go to the missions, press F9, or where the quest button is, and you can read more about the options and gameplay help there. There's a help menu. Just type the word help at any time, and it can help you recover a hero, but it'll also give you information about different aspects of the game, and the tip button is active as well. Next, you'll decide the game type. There's Epic Game, which is the main part of the game, a quick game which leaves out a few features but makes the game a little bit faster. There's the Starfighter Arena. This is only for multiplayer. It's just you and your friends in ships blowing each other up. And there's the Hero Arena, which leaves out the ships entirely, and you just play with the ground heroes. I recommend Epic Game, and they're listed in the order that ties are broken. So if one player votes for Epic Game and one for Quick, Epic Game is selected. If one votes for Starfighter Arena and another votes for Hero Arena, then Starfighter Arena is selected. The rest of the tutorial will largely be about the Epic Game. Once you pick that, you'll then have to choose your pilots. These are the same as they were before, but if you're not familiar, all the pilots are viable, and they determine what hero skills you will have, and also what they excel at when you're in a ship. There's the balanced hero, of course. The pilots are recommended for more advanced players because they give you more rapid use of the auxiliary power system. Gunners are better at shooting things, and mechanics, not surprisingly, repair their ships a little bit faster, increase their shield regeneration rates, and they work very well with the ground cannons and the base cannons in the game. After that, you'll be asked if you want to skip the introduction or not. I recommend for first-time players not to skip the introduction. In the introduction, you'll go around and kill some enemy units. You'll practice your hero skills. You'll get some experience doing this, and you will also be able to get a Technounion Data shard by killing the enemy's commander. In the Rebel case, the commander is the Dewback Rider. In the Imperial case, there's a larger enemy ground unit. Should be recognizable. If you kill him, he'll drop a Technounion Data shard, and you can turn that in at the main base in order to get upgrades.
Very wise.
If you're confused about what to do with the Technounion shard, just read the tooltip. There's everything in the game is tooltipped for your convenience, and there's also a tips menu. To board a ground vehicle, walk up to it and select it. It should automatically switch to your camera, but if it doesn't, press escape. You can turn on and off the ground unit cameras and the hero cameras as well. The ground vehicles are very powerful against ground units, but they don't do anything against air units. So take some time to look over their different abilities. When you're done with this section, you'll eventually get your flare. This is at the end of the tutorial. When you reach that pile, you'll have a flare ability, and you'll be forced to use it to get to your base. The flare ability is always used to return to your base. For the Imperials, it's the only way to do it, to get back into the Star Destroyer. A Rebel can return to his base on foot, but it's not recommended. When you use your flare, a shuttle will come pick you up, and it will carry you back to your base's spawning zone. Whenever you return to your base, you should head north if you're a Rebel. If you're an Imperial, you can head east to your computer. In your base computer, you'll see a little green circle. Stand on that, and you'll turn in your Technounion shards that you collected, and it will reward you with Technounion points and with gold. You can then spend them on different upgrades. These upgrades may change in future patches, so just read them carefully. When it's time to pick a craft, just walk up to the one that you want and select it. If you have enough credits or gold, then you can actually purchase the ship. The two starting ships, the Z-95 and the Y-Wing for the Rebels, and the TIE Fighter and TIE Bomber for the Imperials, are free, so you can always afford those. Pick whichever missiles you'd like to load. The missiles are free unless you've unlocked advanced missiles. And then you can pick, for the Rebels, a droid, for the Imperials, a module, and any of them are fine, or you can go with no droid. They cost, I believe, 2 gold each. Finally, we get to the good part, flying your ship. To fly the ship, just right-click where you want to go. I recommend continuously right-clicking. The ship will turn to the point that you've indicated. So if you click too close to your ship, it'll never reach that point. It'll constantly turn to try to get to it. So click fast, and in the distance, and your ship will go in that direction. Press W to speed up, S to slow down. While you're flying around, on the top right of the screen you'll see your dashboard, which you can open and close with the escape. The dashboard has a lot of important information. So the first in the list is your laser power. It starts at 100%. As you fire, that decreases. The damage the laser's done is shown in the parenthesis next to the word laser. This TIE fighter is down to 1 damage at this point. As he keeps draining laser energy, eventually it hits 0, and then you can't fire lasers anymore at all. To get your laser power back, you have to hit X for auxiliary, then Q, and that recharges your lasers. Next on the list is your missile type and how many missiles you have remaining, and below that your engine, which shows you your current speed. Again, press W to increase speed, S to decrease speed. Below that is your stabilizers, which can be damaged and slow your turn rate, and underneath that is your targeting system. Whatever unit you've selected will then appear as your current target, and if the unit is in front of you, you'll start tracking it. You'll lock on, which will enable missile fire later on. So here's a TIE fighter approaching a tank. When he gets within range, you'll select that tank and it will appear, where right now you can see none. As long as the tank is in front of him in his frontal cone, he'll start increasing his tracking on it, which is shown next to the tank's name. When that tracking reaches 9, you can fire a missile. The better the missile will track, and the more damage it will do when it actually hits its target. You don't actually have to be facing the craft when you launch your missile. Once you have a lock on, it'll last for a few seconds even if you break contact, so you can shoot the missile after the fact. Below the name of your target is the shields of the target you've selected. If it's not a shielded craft, it'll just say NA. But this Y-Wing has shields, so the TIE Bomber disables those with ion cannons. Once the shields are down, it takes much more damage from lasers and from missiles. The last line, if you're in a shielded craft, will be your current shields. In TIE fighters, you'll have the power flexibility, which lets you shift energy to your lasers or to your engines. You adjust that with the R button. In combat, select the target that you want to hit, this will improve your chances that your lasers will hit it, and hammer the Q button to fire your lasers. Some ships will have ion cannons. Press the E button to fire those that fire less rapidly. They'll take away shields and disable craft. Here's a shuttle using its ion cannons on this Y-Wing. Ions will take a while to actually disable the target, but if you disable it fully, like that, a tug will arrive, spawning from your base. You'll see it in a moment, and it will begin to essentially board the craft to reprogram it with a beam of energy, and when that's done, if you protect it, it'll return back to your main ship. Returning ionized ships is a good way of getting some extra credits and some technology points. Each side, the Rebels and the Imperials, can only do this 5 times. Well, you can continue to do it, but you won't get additional rewards. Of course, only some craft have ion cannons, namely the bombers on both sides, the shuttles, and some of the advanced craft. Another way of getting Technounion Data points is to go into the Northern Canyons and retrieve Technounion Data shards from the Technounion ships. Now, these shards enable you to unlock advanced craft, upgrades for craft, and certain kinds of scenarios. You'll see the player here passing one of those ships and looking for another one. In the north, the computer-controlled ships won't follow you, but players still may, so you have to be on your guard. When you see one slow down, press the S key repeatedly until your speed is stopped. That enables you to land. Press the V key to land and your hero will pop out. You can then later reboard your ship by walking up and selecting it.
Right. wise.
Once you're inside,
Right.
you'll have some obstacles to overcome, some droids to kill, and then you can loot the Technounion Data core. Now just picking up the Technounion Data core
Right.
will give you some experience, but if you want the technology
light.
points, which are really the most valuable thing, because that's
By
what's
my honor.
that's what unlocks
Very
tech,
wise.
you need to actually return
my
to your
honor.
base with it. Once
For
you
the
leave
light.
the Technounion ship, it will explode, so other players won't be fooled into going inside. Now to get back, you can just use your flare while on foot, or you can fly backward, collect some more things on the way. To escape in a hurry, press X and then V, and you'll parachute out of your ship. X is the auxiliary ability. There's a tutorial on that on auxiliary power as well. Once on foot, use your flare, and you'll head back to your base to turn in the Technounion Data core.
Very wise.
Simply walk up to your base computer and you'll
By
get
my
credit
honor.
for turning in the Technounion Data core. Then select the base computer and you can purchase different upgrades. And just as an illustration, I'll show you researching turrets. One of the most important upgrades for the Rebels will enable the 360 turret on the Y-wing and the stock freighters. But once you're in a craft with a turret, you can press the F key to hop into it, and then whenever you right-click, you'll shoot a laser in that direction instead of flying, or instead of turning. To get out, press the F key again, and be back in the cockpit. Okay, now let's unlock another ship. Using the Technounion data that we've had so far, we're going to unlock the B-wing. Now when you walk over to the B-wing, you'll see that it's now unlocked.
I am here.
The circle has turned green, and you can walk up to the circle, select it, and fly the B-wing.
By my honor.
Now to win the game, you have to kill the enemy's main base. One way of targeting the main base is to use the targeting computer. That's a plus-size icon that all ships carry. This will lock you on to the current target of the bombers on your side. Usually that's the Star Destroyer for the Rebels, and it's usually the Rebel base for the Imperials. So if you click that, your targeting computer will automatically select that target, and as long as you're facing it, you'll start counting up, and when you get a lock on, you can launch a missile at it. Now the score of the game is shown in the top right corner, where the food supply would ordinarily be, and that shows the Rebel health over the Imperial health. When that gets to 0, one team wins. Now here you'll see some TIE bombers making an attack run against the Rebel base, using the same logic. Use the square button to target the enemy base, face it, and you'll slowly lock on and you can launch missiles. Now the main bases are actually very dangerous. They'll fire on enemy craft, and so if you don't want to make an attack run with your bombers, one thing you can do is clear out the middle of the map by shooting the ground units or dropping bombs on them if you have a craft that drops bombs. By clearing out the enemy units, it enables your units to reach the center of the map, whereupon they'll take control of that droid factory. That droid factory will then spawn droids to help your ground units, and it will also enable you to get into the central turrets. Again, you'll see auxiliary plus V enables you to hop out of your craft, and then if you own the middle, if your ground troops have taken the droid factory, you can get into a cannon. Cannons do a lot of damage. You press the Q button to fire, you right click to turn, and their damage is actually determined by your mechanical skill. So units or heroes that are good at mechanics are better at turrets. Your central bases also have turrets.
Very wise.
For the Rebels, you have to run north to get close to your base. For the Imperials, there's a circle inside the Star Destroyer that you can board. Once you board it, you're given control of the main base, and you can turn in various directions and fire regular lasers and ion cannons at incoming missiles, or at incoming ships and at incoming missiles. If there are no enemies nearby, you can still fire missiles at distant craft. You press the C button and you'll fire an auto-controlled missile. Steer it by right-clicking, press W to increase its speed. At increased speed, it also does additional damage. Base cannons are also good at shooting down incoming missiles to protect your main base, and you can also use the ion cannons to attempt to ionize incoming enemy vessels. Now the other players on your team probably won't respect that and they may actually blow them up, but if you do manage to ionize a ship, it will give you gold and Technounion data. Main bases also work as repair units, and so they will restock your ship with missiles and increase their hit points. And finally, if you are actually killed, you'll zoom out and you'll have a respawn timer. Take a moment to look around the board, and you'll get a sense of what the other ships are doing. You'll see the supply ships that reinforce the main base, for example, which need to be protected, and you can learn a lot that way. Also, take a moment to read the tips or to look at the quest log. That will give you some additional information. Thanks, everybody.